Okay, so like I mentioned yesterday, logs are inverses of exponential functions. Sorry, I lost my thought for a minute there. So you have the log there. It says log, and then you've got a very low subscript. That's your base. And then the x is what we call the argument. And then y is going to be the exponent. Okay, and that is true. Log base b of x equals y is true if and only if b, your base, to the y power equals x. And there's two things that have to happen. Your base has to be greater than 0. Okay, so it can't be 0 and it can't be a negative. And then your argument also cannot be negative. And then b also cannot be 1. Your base cannot be 1. So it can be anything between 0 and 1 and anything greater than 1. It just can't be less than 0 and it can't be 1. And then we have the two forms that we are going to talk about switching between today, just going from log form to exponential. They mean exactly the same thing. And a lot of the times to solve logs, we will have to take it, let's say, from log form to exponential, or either that way, or exponential to log form. So we got to get good at learning how to switch between the two so that we can learn how to simplify. Okay. Also, one thing I just want to mention, because some people write it differently. When we write our logs, imagine this is your lines on your paper. Your log stuff is normal size. Your base, like for example, this one here, that 2 is going to be a subscript, so it's low, and it's kind of halfway below that. And then that 8, our argument, is going to be normal size. Okay, that's not an exponent, so we shouldn't put it up high. And then equal to the 3. So that's how it should look when you write it on like lined paper. Some people write it and it looks a little funky, so just make sure you do that when you write that on your lined paper. Okay, so what we're going to do, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I had this here too. I'll take a minute and write that, and then I'll talk to you about that. Common log is what, when we get to the calculator version of doing logarithms, that's what we have to use as a common log, which is a log with a base of 10. I'll let you write that down. So again, a common log is a log with a base of 10, and that's the only logs, or the only base that most calculators use. There are a few calculators that you can enter the base in, but majority of the calculators only use base 10. And so you can write it as log with a base of 10 of x, but also you can just write it as log of x. So if you don't see a base written, much like the exponent of 1, then it's understood that that base is a 10. Okay, so if ever we're changing from log to exponent or exponent to log, if the base is 10, it does not have to be written. Just like with an x to the first power, we don't generally write the 1 on it. We just write x. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from log form and we're going to turn it to exponential. So if you take a minute and write that first log down, I have a little trick that may or may not help you when you change it from log form to exponential. Does anybody remember log somewhat from Algebra 2? Okay, should have done it there. So I have log base 3 of x equals y. And so all we're going to do is switch it. We're not solving anything. We're not simplifying. We're not evaluating. We're not finding the variables. We are simply changing it from log form to exponential. Okay, so what does exponential start with? What letter? E. Okay, so watch this. Everybody ready? I always start with my base. Which one of those is my base? 3. Okay, so I start with my 3, and it's going to be 3 to the y power equals x. What letter did I just make? An E. I'll show you again. If my stuff will work properly, maybe. Try that one more time. Again, we start with a base. So it's going to be 3 to the y power equals x. And so when I write it, I'm literally writing 3 to the y power equals x. And that is all I have to do. Just changing the way it looks. Changing it from log form to exponential. Does that make a little bit of sense? All right. The second one. This one is just the log of x equals y. What did we say? If there was no base written, then it was assumed that it was 10. So if it helps you, maybe write that 10 in there. And then do the same thing, starting with our base. We're going to take it to exponential. Base is 10 when it's not written. So we're going to go 10 to the y power equals x. And that's all you have to do. Again, we're just changing it from log form to exponential. Not hard, right? Okay. Try those two then. We're looking at what they look like as a graph. We should be changing both of them to exponential form. What's my base? 1/2. So we're going to go 1/2 to the y power equals x. Now, when you have a fraction, I generally put it in parentheses when I have an exponent on it so that I know that that exponent goes to the entire fraction. Will I count it wrong if you don't put parentheses? No. okay, but that's just the way I write it, and that's going to equal x. And again, that's all we're doing is changing it from one form to the other. What would the next one look like? Yep, 1/3 to the -3 equals 27. Okay. Why do we spend a day doing this? Is because when we get to the actual simplifying and solving part of logs, you're going to have to mostly take them from log form to exponential to be able to solve. So we've got to get good at going from one form to the other. Is everybody okay with that one? All right, we're going to go backwards now. I'm going to be giving it to you in exponential form, and we're going to write it as a log, and I have a little trick for this one too. So we've got 8 to the 2/3 power equals 4. Again, I'm not doing any math to it. I'm simply changing it from exponential to log form. So what does log start with? L. All right, is everybody ready? So this is what we start. We always start above the base. Does everybody understand which number in that exponential form is the base? Which one? 8. Okay, so we're going to start above it. We're going to go log base 8. That's the first thing I touch. Of 4. Okay, so log base 8 of 4 equals what number did I not touch? 2/3. Okay, I'll show you my little trick again. Again, we start above the base. Is log base 8 of 4 equals the number that I did not touch, the exponent. And that's all you have to do. The base is the same number, whether it's in log form or exponential. If it's in exponential, the base is the one that has the exponent attached to it. Sometimes they write those backwards, and so it's best to, what I mean by that is sometimes you'll see that they would write it like this. Okay. The little trick doesn't really work that way because it doesn't make an L if I try to do it. So I would always just rewrite it, putting the number that has the exponent on the left and the number that doesn't on the right. Okay, so if you ever come across one that looks like this, just rewrite it. What's the base in the second one? 5. So we're going to go log base 5 of 25 is equal to what number did I not touch? 2. That didn't work. I'm trying to make that one look more like a 2. Any questions? Okay. Try those two. Now, with this next one, we could technically write it two ways. Which one is my base? 10. So we could write it log base 10 of 1 over 1,000. And what I mean by two different ways is we can actually write the base if you want to. Or, because it's a base 10, you could also just write it without the base. Okay, either one of those would work. Only if it's base 10, though, are you allowed to leave it out. But if you write it, that is perfectly fine, too. Everybody understand that? And then what would the next one look like? Log of what? 1 over 81 of 9 equals, there you go. So ours are good? Okay. Just a couple more. And this is what I was just talking to you about up there. Because the book in homework, it writes several of them like this. remember to use your trick for the L. The number that has the exponent attached to it needs to be on the left side. So if you come across a problem where it is on the right side, just rewrite it before you take it to log form. That means just switch the two. Take the 2 to the third, write it on the left. Take the 8, write it on the right. And then you can use your little L trick to go into log form. If you don't need the trick, then it's not necessary to rewrite it, okay? So again, I would rewrite both of these so that I can use my trick. Just switching the order and then putting the number that has the exponent attached to it on the left and the other number on the right. So what would the number 3 look like? Log what? Log base 2 of 8 equals 3. And then the fourth one, log base 1/4 of equals. Any questions?